Right, welcome back again. A friend of mine, a Ghanaian, reached me on a call and she asked me a question about Jakaya Kikwete being like sabotaging the government, or rather giving instructions or saying, giving or telling the government of Tanzania where to go, what to do, at what time, and how to do it. And I really didn't have some blueprints on that, but I said, I'm going to do research on that and come up with something because I was also interested in knowing what is really happening right there. We've known as black people and as Africans that we have been living under a certain system or a certain, maybe, let me say, process where we have to follow and live a certain way, and that one still happens in many countries in Africa. Therefore, I decided, let me check out and see what I'm gonna come up with. And it is really a point of interest. I want to talk about it because I came up with something that is very much interesting. And these are things we need to consider, we need to take note of, and we need to think of how we are going to come up with solutions for these things, because it is going to destroy us, it's going to put us down if we're not very careful. Sometimes we don't need to ignore some things, because this ignorance is what really costs us a lot. Now, who is Jakaya Kikwete? Kikwete served as a president of the United Republic of Tanzania from 2005 to the year 2015. After his presidency, he has taken a number of international and regional roles, especially in education, water and sanitation, agriculture, and global development. So he also established his own foundation, the Jakaya Kikwete Foundation, JMKF, focused on health, education, youth, and governance. Okay, he works closely with the international partners, the West, in quotes, the West. Okay, in broad sense of global institutions on development issues such as education, with Global Partnership for Education, and water with Global Water Partnership. Now, we don't need to read more about Jakaya and about the history and all that, but I want us to stop from the point of he works closely with international partners and, in quotes, the West. Let's focus on working with closely partnership with the West. He is working with the West to make sure that he is aligning or sharpening the broad sense of global institutions on development issues such as education, with Global Partnership for Education, and water with Global Partnership for Water, and it's fine, because at the end of the day, it's development that we want in Africa. It is development that we want in our countries. I'm beginning to think it can be possible when people have claims that Jakaya has been maybe ruling the government, or maybe giving instructions and telling the government what to do at what time and how to do it, because of some little things that I'm going to touch right now. Number one, the West has always been a bad omen to the African countries. The truth is that they have always been a bad omen. The people who don't really understand, they haven't read the history, they haven't read the books, they are not doing research and all that, they will come out clearly and not accept and agree with the fact that the West is a poison to Africa. Sometimes I even come across old men, who maybe I'm thinking that they should be knowing all these things, but you would hear them saying, America should come and help us, France should come and help us, I don't know what should come and help us, and yet they don't understand and they don't have an idea that the problem we have in Africa today, it's because of the foreign powers and the foreign interference, them coming in the name of helping and destroying everything. The foreign powers, the Western countries, number one, this is one thing we need to take note of. They would never give you something that's going to help you. In one way or the other, they must give you something that, if it will help you, you're going to pay for it very much. It's going to cost you very high, and it's been difficult for them to actually give the African people and the African countries something that will really help them fully. Why? Because Africa is fashioned to be poor, and therefore it is very difficult for them to make Africa rich. Africa is poor by design, And the fact that it is poor by design, they can't really come in and make it rich because it's poor by design. They have designed it to be poor so that with reasons and with intentions that Africa would keep on looking for them for help. Why? They want to sit at the position of supremacy. They want to sit at the position of leaders, elders. They want to sit at the throne. So they must make us look low and like we must be able to be lower than where they are. So the only way for us to be able to be lower, it is when we are poor. It is very easy for you to manipulate a poor person or somebody who is in need than somebody who is not in need. Okay? So when our standards are very low, it is very easy for the whites or for the white supremacists or for the West to manipulate Africa. Somebody who is in need, they can do anything. If somebody is poor or somebody is in need or somebody wants something, you can go to any extent to get either money, to get food, to get shelter, or anything. And that is how people easily manipulate other people, especially when they know you are in need. People who are in need are willing to go to any extent. It is very easy to, you find, like, maybe for example, let's take for example, you're walking on the road, then you come across a girl, she's maybe going through a lot of things. You are a man, and this girl, she's poor, she doesn't have anything, she's crying on the road, and you look at her and you feel like, and you talk to her, you ask her what is happening. She's going to reveal everything to you, to be very much open. When you tell this girl, let me take you home or to my house so you can be able to find a place to sleep, this girl will follow you. Why? Because she's in need. She's following you because she's in need. And that is where a man can take advantage of this person. And the girl also, she's willing to be taken advantage of. Why? Because she's in need. If she's going to look like somebody who like trying to resist the man and all that, she knows she's going maybe to lose, So something comes in her mind and tells her, just do it because now you need it, And that is manipulation. Now, this man might end up taking this girl for good, or rather after benefiting from her or after taking whatever he wanted from her, he can be able to throw her out. That is what West has always been doing to Africa. Design Africa to be poor, make it poor, and then by them being poor, they will always come for us for help. Or if we display ourselves as helpers, they are ready to receive us and to accept us to go to their countries so that we can be able to help them. When they come to our countries, they do whatever they want in our countries because at the end of the day, they're the ones giving help. And after doing whatever the things they want to our countries, they leave. And after they have left, they leave us with nothing. They came to help, but they took whatever they wanted to take, and they left without giving us anything. And that is how we have been manipulated for years. So number one, take note of this. West will not help Africa at all, because the West is the biggest enemy of Africa. Africa is looking the way it's looking like today because of the West. True or false? If you know what we are talking about, you will definitely be on the side of the people who are saying it's true, unless you only don't know what we are talking about. But the problems in Africa, even the bad leadership and governance we are seeing today, it's because of the influence of the Western countries. In one way or the other, they have interfered. Why? Because they need Africa to be who they are. The so-called first world countries have benefited and they have acquired the first worldness by associating themselves to African countries. Why? Because we have what they don't have, and they have what we have. So all things we have, they do not have, but all things they have, we have it. So what do? They tend to associate themselves with the African countries indirectly. They don't want to show it out clearly that we are coming to take, or we are coming for people to help us, because they don't want to be at the position of them begging. So what they do what we call deceiving people or manipulating people. So it is like a person who is in need, but because of the level of pride and the level of arrogance, you cannot accept the fact that you are in need. So you are so much proud of yourself to an extent. You are in need. You need something, But you can't speak out to the people and tell the people, yeah, I need you to help me, because of the level of arrogance, because of the level of pride that you have. So this pride you have does not allow you to stand up and speak out, say, I need help. So what do you end up doing? You end up coming and making yourself a helper, you know? So you come in the name of you're coming to help, and in real sense, you're coming to steal. And that is who West have always been. So they won't leave Africa, because if they leave Africa, number one, the power they have goes down. They are powerful because they are getting power from Africa. What is giving them power is money. How are they acquiring their money? From the resources that are coming from Africa. Without those resources, they can't have money. Without money, they can't have power. And we should be the first world countries, not them being the first world countries. Now, we as black people, we as Africans, it is only that we have not, either number one, we haven't understand all this, or number two, we just know, but we are ignorant. Okay? Or number three, we know we are not ignorant, but we are not willing to take position, or we are not willing to take part in changing, the society and changing ourselves. We're not willing to make a change by our own selves. So three things. Number one, either we know and we just don't want to address it, or we don't know, or number three, we know and we are ignorant. But why is it that black people in Africa behave like they don't know? It is because we were allowed to know some other things, and there are other things we were not allowed to know by the white people. The supremacists allowed some things to us, and other things they didn't allow to us. The previous generations did not really understand what was the impact of the West, the African countries. They looked at them, they thought they are helpers. And that is why many of the people in the previous generations, they were actually accepting the Westerners. They were accepting them, to come to our countries, and they were really accepting them and feeling happy and feeling like, these people are helping us and all that. So they were very happy to receive them. The existing generation understands one thing, that the West is not a friend. And they have understood this by going through processes and learning many things. And that is why the existing generation is fighting governments in Africa. A government that looks like it wants to manipulate us. A government that looks like it doesn't respect and it violates the rights of a common citizen. The existing generation does not give a shit to that. The existing generation stands up and says, this is not what we want, boldly. That is why many countries right now, they are rising up against their governments and trying to do away with the manipulative governments, with the deceiving governments, and with the irresponsible and unaccountable governments. The government that is very much unaccountable, very much irresponsible, very much useless, they are doing away with those governments. So the existing generation is a little bit better compared to the previous generation, And now, when the Westerners come to you and they want to partner with you in terms of business cooperation or anything, like just what we just shared. We talked about this president, the former president of Tanzania, Jakaya Kikwete, and we said he works closely with the international partners. You see how the name looks very sweet? They work closely with the international partners, in quotes, the West, in broad sense of global institution, on development issues such as education, with global partnership for education, and water with global partnership for water. Now, let's not talk about water. Water right now, it is even there to confuse us. Let's talk about education. Do you think the Westerners can really grant you a system of education, or education that will understand you, that will make you or will allow you to understand many things in the world, or to understand the mysteries of the world, or to read and gain enough knowledge for you to know many things? They cannot do that. And that is why the system of educations we've been using in Africa are the systems of education we were left with by the West. We didn't we didn't used to have this kind of education. As black people, as Africans, we had our cultures, we had our ways of learning, we had our ways of doing things. If it was about spiritual matters, we had our ways of doing spiritual matters before the coming of the Europeans, before the coming of the missionaries. We knew how we were doing things, and God was blessing us. You don't tell me that before the coming of the Europeans, we were never used to be blessed by God. No, God blessed us, because we had our ways of doing things. We had our ways of education. Civilization started from Africa. If you talk about and study about the African history, you'll realize, like right now, the West is saying that Africans are uncivilized. Africans are illiterate. Africans do not have a history. But I just want to tell you, Africa was the mother of civilization. The mother of civilization. We started civilization. It was we who started civilization. So you standing up and calling an African country or African people uncivilized is very less of you. It's very much shameful of you, because Africa gave birth to civilization. Africa gave birth to education. Look at the universities we had in Africa. Look at the time of we're talking about the Mansa Musa, the Timbuktu, those times. We had the universities, and when white people came to Africa, they actually borrowed the history of Africa. When it comes to the things to do with the education, they borrowed education from Africa. When it comes to do with things with schools and civilization, Africa was the mother of civilization and all that. So these countries should not come out and tell us that we are helping you. No. The first helpers of the West were the Africans, were the black people. Them coming and putting themselves at a point of the helpers and all that, they need to know that we have the history, we understand the history, and we know we were the helpers. We were the first people who pioneered things. We were the first people. Our culture is what is making them look like the way they're looking like today, And therefore, we as Africans, we got power more than the West. We, compared to the West, we are very much powerful. We are very much great, And so, Wests fear the power that Africa has. And every day, they struggle. They study to make sure and to find ways that they can be able to deplete the power that Africans have. The power that the African continent have. Because they know if the African continent can actually come back to their point of power, they can be a very big threat to them. They fear Africa. And that is why they will do everything to make sure they're dividing Africa. I told you someday, when Africa wanted to be taken over, there was a meeting that was put in place during the years of 1884, during the Berlin Conference. And these people were sitting down and they were speaking to themselves, saying, if we go to these people and try to attack them as a whole, it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to win them. The only way you can be able to win them is to divide them. And during the Berlin Conference, Africa was divided in many countries. And that is when they said, you will take this, you will take this, you will take that, you will take that. And that is why it was easy for them to really be able to, they were easy for them to colonize Africa. Otherwise, if Africa would be one, it was going to be very difficult for them to colonize Africa. Now, the unity of a black person becomes a threat to them. Louis Farrakhan says once upon a time that the unity of a black person is as powerful as a hydrogen or an atomic bomb, which means a unit of a black person can pull everything into action or push everything to happen. It is easy to work with a black people who are united. Do you think it's going to be easy for them to let a black people unite? It's not going to be easy. It's going to be very difficult for them. And it is what gives them a sleepless nights. Now, where did the rain started beating us? The rain started beating us when we started speaking the different languages and not agreeing on the same things. And even today, they know the only way we can be able to put these people under the bars is by dividing them. And those divisions still continue even today as we are talking. The things we are seeing in Africa, the chaos we are seeing in Tanzania, the problems we are seeing in Kenya, the problems we are seeing in Nigeria, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Cameroon, the assassinations you are seeing, the assassination attempts you are seeing in Burkina Faso and many other countries in Africa, it is because of the West. The old leaders who keep on coming back to the power, even after leading for many years, it is because of the West. And the biggest question is, until when will this continue? This one can only come to an end if black people decide it is today, it is now, or never. Don't pretend that we are working with the West to help Africa. Yet you know very well, working with the West can only destroy and not help Africa. Don't pretend you're working with the West to bring up some things into action in Africa. Talking about education, talking about what? Africans were the mothers of education. Africa were the mothers of civilization. If at all we are supposed to be studying education, we are not supposed to be the ones studying education, but they are supposed to be the one copying from us and asking us how to come about education and all that, So it can be true that the former president Jakaya Kikwete, he is giving the government the orders and telling the government where to go, how to do things and how and why, because he is an ally of the West. And maybe the West are using him to make sure that the president of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan, is walking and going the right direction. Why am I saying this? President John Pombe Magufuli, when he came to power, he was one of the best presidents and most loved by the people of Tanzania. And the people of Tanzania said, this is the leader that we want. And they voted for him because he was a man who never wanted some things to happen. And you know what really happened? What happened is that the president was loved by the people. He even pushed even the same Jakaya Kikwete away from his government. And the leader was making decisions by himself and doing things by himself, And a time came when the leader just died mysteriously. Why did he die mysteriously? And after he died mysteriously, President Samia Suluhu Hassan took his position. And after Samia Suluhu Hassan took his position, Jakaya Kikwete came back and he started advising the government. Why? It is because he is the tool behind everything that is happening. We have to stop it as Africans. We need to be independent. We need to work for our people. We need to respect our people and not the people that are claiming to be better than us, yet we are better than them. Today, if we cry, the only person who can listen to you is a black person that is near you, not a white person that is miles away from you. It was glad for me to address that. That is just my opinion. Tell me what you think on the comment section. I will do my best to make sure I read all the comments and give a response where possible. I am Atamba Heti from the African Streamline, and this is African Streamline's Roundtable. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll really, really appreciate. Let's grow together. Until next episode, peace be with you.